An Australian test at the Gabba lasting 2 days, exactly 2 days, not even two and a half, not even going into the first hour of the third morning,
I'm looking
just two
forward to
days.
this.
And that's a test between South Africa and Australia, two of the best bowling attacks. And Australia also has a pretty good batting attack. So with me, I have my co-host as always, Charbel, who is um, going to argue of why this test lasted 2 days and where the pitch goes from here and where Cricket Australia go from here. Was it a bad pitch, or was it better bowling and poor batting? But as things go, social media has taken its course, and everyone's saying, well, if it was a test in the subcontinent, especially India,
That's what I'm looking
it
forward
would
to.
have been it would have been a poor pitch,
It
and
will be
not
poor.
not a not a game of skill. So here we are. Where do you stand, Shabir?
By the way, you were one of those people talking about the subcontinent
Look, I
comparison.
still am. I still am, and to be honest, I'll correct myself. There's I've gone through social media. I've listened to the comments. There are a few comments who have said that, oh, okay, this is a poor pitch. Well,
Yep.
there needs
So
to be
we,
something done about it. But it's nowhere close to what the criticism is when it's an Indian pitch.
you know what? South Africa will be kicking themselves for letting Smith and Travis Head get away from them on the first day because that partnership was the difference in the end. If Australia had to
Absolutely.
get if Australia had to get 50 in that last innings, I don't know if we would
Oh,
have got it.
it was game on. It was
It
game on. I
was-
tell you what, it was
yeah,
game
yeah, yeah.
on.
Now look,
Rabada was, breathing fire, and
absolutely. And look, one thing I'll say is that yeah, we need in Test cricket, right, to have a level playing field in terms of bat ball. There needs to be a battle. So when there's one thing so heavily skewed in one team's favor, or the bowling side's favor, then it's not an equal battle between bat and ball, and then that's
but
that's a
here's the
poor
thing. Here's
pitch.
my argument about it. Here's my argument about it. For years and years, we grew up. You and I, our generation, grew up watching test matches where it was one team batted 3 days and two and a
Well,
half days and
yeah,
scored 650 runs, and the other team did the
that's
same.
bad
And we
too.
were like,
Yep.
and we at times there were comments like, "Oh, it's not the pitch; it's the skill of the bowlers." To bowl good balls, to bowl 10 good balls or 20 good balls in a test match to take the wickets. Whereas when it comes to the batting skill, when the ball is spinning, when the ball is, really seaming here and there, it's always, especially when it's spinning. Let's leave out seaming. When it's spinning, it's always about, oh, it's a poor pitch,
Let me tell
just
you
because
something about the
batters
spinning
can't play
pitch. This is
spin.
this is where this is where I disagree with what you're saying, and the whole narrative around the argument against spinning pitches. It's not turn that's the problem. It's when the ball goes through the top of the surface on the first or second session of day one. That's when the
But
criticism comes.
but isn't that's the point of Test cricket, isn't it? Every country has to serve different
Yeah,
purpose
but
in
it's got to
Test
be a
match
that's,
cricket.
that's the point. It's like Australia served this pitch today, and you calling it poor. Like it's got
No,
to be
it
it's got
is.
to be a
I'm
it,
not saying it's poor. I'm not saying it's poor. I'm saying the criticism when
mm,
it is an Australian pitch and an Indian pitch, that the criticism is poor. Like
like it's far
where do
spread.
we
It's
draw
not
the line?
like Michael
Yeah,
Vaughan has been quiet. That's your point.
exactly. Where do we draw the
Okay.
line?
All
Where
right.
do we
Yeah, yeah.
draw the line?
Look. The what we draw the line, as I said, is you got to have the battle between bat and ball. So if you've got a pitch like this where you've got so much uneven bounce, particularly the end of the second day, where the battle is so skewed towards the bowler, I am all for the pitchers having something for the bowlers. They have to, but it's got to be a balance, right? You can't have a flat surface like Rawalpindi, and you can't have a surface like this. You got to have a balance for the future of Test cricket. You think a 2 day Test match is good for the future? Like I also said that some of the techniques were exposed on this sort of wicket, and that's one factor as well. Is I think the art of Test match batting has been lost in terms of
But
leaving the
what?
ball, discipline, playing
Okay,
late.
answer me this. Answer me this. So, what's the difference between this pitch that was served today? Let's say, for example, I've seen the test match. And what's the difference between the pitch that was served to India a couple of years ago, where Pujara got hit 11 times in the head?
The Gabba
all over
one.
the body. Yeah, the Gabba one.
That that pitch had much less juice in it than this one. This
Was
one,
it,
you
or
this
was
is
it
the
Mitchell Stark? Was it someone like a Mitchell Stark not at the peak of his powers at
no,
all?
no. Look, yeah,
That's why you did
I
not
don't think you,
notice the difference.
I
Is it
don't think you
about
could.
that as well?
No, no, no. Look, you go look at that pitch and look at this one. You couldn't tell where the pitch was in this game. So this is the greenest Gabba pitch I've ever seen. Um, there was a lot of juice left in that one. I think Pujara would have been hit a lot more in this test, but that was tough out there because you get a lot of balls rearing up. How many balls hit the top of the bat from a length? And then there was a couple there at the end going through at bail height, and then others rearing up again, going over the keeper's head.
When it happened to England,
At the
a
MCG
couple of years
last
ago,
year.
when when they toured India,
Oh, yeah.
you know, one team did not. I admit India struggled as well, but India did pretty well under home conditions given the pitch, and then England struggled. So here you have one team doing well, one team. Forget the matter that forget the fact that India was a home team or whatever.
This pitch that South Africa played on now suits their pace attack. If they bowled better on the first day that evening, they could have won that test match. Even if they scored,
even if they had 30 more runs,
100%. Even if they had
35 more runs,
30, 50 more runs, that would have been tough chase for Australia.
Yeah.
Anything near 100 would have been very difficult. And that's what I talk about, that pitches like this is where touring teams have got to keep it in their mind. So say India produce raging turners like they did Pune 2017. It brings Australia more into the game. Because it's going to make our spinners, look like Shane Warne, look world class.
Absolutely.
But look, for the future of Test cricket, we don't want 2-day Test matches and we don't want 5-day board draws. My point is we need to have engaging, really enticing Test matches. But as my point before is that South Africa will be thinking to themselves, we missed an opportunity in this. If they're not thinking that, then their mindset is wrong.
Yeah, definitely.
If they're not thinking that, then their mindset is wrong, because that pitch for their pace attack is very, very, very handy for them. And they put 150 on the board in the first innings. It looked low, but in the end, they were off the pace a little bit in that first evening, particularly to Travis Head. They fed him a lot of width. I've said it a million times. Mark Wood showed the template last year. As good as Travis Head is, he's got a problem against the ball at his rib cage on short ball at his body. He doesn't like it there. So don't feed him width. It's basic stuff. So
I agree.
Anyway, back to the pitch. I think that Gabba pitch will get at least a below average rating. But going on to the spinning pitches in India in February, if Australia are faced with a Pune 2017 or a Ahmedabad 2021, look at it as an opportunity. You put 150 on the board, 200. You bat well once, you can win that test match because you've got Nathan Lyon, you might have Kuhneman there, you might have Swepson, even Todd Murphy, whoever it may be. They might Look, Steve O'Keefe took 12 for 70 in that test match I'm talking about. He took 12 for 70, 6 for 35 in both innings because the pitch rewarded accuracy. You just have to land it there. You just have to land it and get it to turn. So India's got to be careful about what they do with their pitches.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you there. And England 2012 has also shown how to do it. Kevin Peterson in Mumbai and then Monty Panesar and Graham Swan, they have shown how to do it. So you can't just, when you're served with these difficult conditions, you can't just put your hands up and say, oh, this is how it's. You've got to
look at you got to look at it and say, how can we come out on top, particularly with our pace attack?
Because from teams South Africa have done it.
Particularly from a pace attack that South Africa have, bowling on that wicket, you're a chance of winning. So
yeah, absolutely.
Same with Australia in India. If it's a traditional subcontinent pitch that's on the slower side, turn is slow, it's decent for batting, I can't see Australia winning. If that's the case, Australia's best chance, in my opinion, if India produce these raging turners and it works against them, like Pune 2017. I come back to it. So
it's
but ultimately the thing is, it's that we're talking about Test cricket as a whole here. How can we ensure that we get a product that's riveting, that's engaging? And look, we have had some great Test matches since the start of last year, but how do we get more? Because it's, cricket calendar is so full at the moment that something's got to give in the future. We want to make sure Test cricket survives and all this sort of stuff. So the pitches that we play on, that the cricket is played on, that's the most important thing to get those right.
Yeah, absolutely. But coming back to a quick point about India and Australia touring India in a couple of months' time, given that Australia has almost four, is it four? Yeah, four left-handers in their top seven. Ashwin's going to be licking his lips when it comes to playing at Ahmedabad or anywhere for that matter. Especially given the form that David Warner's in.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's probably a
Which
discussion for another
also,
time. David Warner's
yeah,
form is a big problem. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if this series is the last one for him, but he's always said that it's not. But when you look at India and England, he struggled there even at the peak of his powers. Now he's not as, he's past his best in terms of test match batting, and now he's going to go there. Travis Head as well is going to be a big question mark over him in India. Spin, as good as he's been at home, spin is going to be the test for him. Okay, I look forward to previewing that series with you a bit later on. But coming back to this series, South Africa cannot count themselves out. You bat well once at Melbourne, you could win the game. Same as Sydney.
absolutely.
You just need one innings where you score 250, 300. And with your attack, and if the pitches are juicy, you're going to win.
Absolutely. But I think Australian bowling attack is just too good for
It's too good, but
the South African batting.
you just need one special knock from someone somewhere. Who's going to do it? I don't know.
Yeah,
South
that's
Africa's
that's
batting
always
lineup.
going to be
When you
hard.
told me in the last podcast episode that we did that there's going to be a draw in this series, I was surprised because I thought the batting lineups, South Africa's batting, no one averages 40 in that team. So that's a serious problem. But you never know. One guy plays a blinder.
I'm hinging on Sydney's weather. So
that's your hope.
that's my hope.
That's what I'm saying. Like one guy plays a blinder, for example. Who may that be? I don't know. Dean Elgar fights hard, or Rassie van der Dussen plays a great knock. Whoever it might be, they get 250. And you got that bowling attack coming out of Australia, who had their problems as well in this game. If it wasn't for Travis Head, who knows what would have happened?
It was a close game. It would have been an exciting game. Anyway, Charbel.
You didn't tell me. Hold on. You didn't tell me what you thought of this pitch.
Well, look, I'll always say that I've seen Ravi Shastri and Virat Kohli say take the pitch out of the equation, and that's true. How do you make the most of whatever you've got is always going to be my attitude, whether it's a 2-day test match, 3-day test match, whatever
would you call it a good pitch though? So as an outsider, you watching it, I agree with you that the teams there have got to try and make the best of it. But you as a spectator watching it and watching that, what would you say?
I wouldn't call it a good pitch. I wouldn't call it a bad pitch as well. It was an okay pitch. And to be honest, yes, Travis had scored 92, but and South Africa did not bowl well to him. But even if in the first innings itself, South Africa would have got to at least 180 or 190, then it would have been a different ball game altogether. I certainly wouldn't call it a poor pitch, because I don't think it was. I think I'll always say that when it comes to pitch preparation, it's a different science. I agree, because I've seen it close. It is a different science. You have to take a lot of factors into consideration. There's plenty of pieces of the puzzle that you have to join together, and sometimes things don't go your way. There are things you can't control. So I'll never say any pitch is bad or poor.
Not
it's
even
always
the West Indies England game 2009 that was abandoned after 10 balls, I think, and then you had in the late 90s England West Indies as well with
again
Ambrose
again it was all because we don't know what's gone into the preparation.
I agree with you,
the
but
days leading up to the test match, because I'll never disregard.
I think the weather's been fine in Brisbane.
Yeah, absolutely, but I'll never disregard anyone's work, and all due respect the ground stuff as well. So I'll always say it's an okay or above. I'll never say it's a bad or a poor pitch. It's that's just me.
So just before we sign off, you could subscribe to the CricBlog podcast. So the links are actually in the description. We publish a weekly episode, and we'll talk about Australia, South Africa in further detail. Look at India as well, in Bangladesh and other campaigns like Sydney Thunder getting bowled out for 15 last Friday. So this test match wasn't as bad as that. So
Yeah.
yeah, subscribe and check it out. Thanks, Nash. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.